I had a lot of fun putting this together. This is a deep and wide subject. There's just a lot to cover. And a lot of these are general statements I'll be making, but everybody's different in the way they deliver service. And we can certainly talk about some of that. So the first thing I want to do is ask everybody, and put in the chat a response if you care to, is customer service better or worse since COVID? I think it depends on who you talk to and the kind of service you're looking for. I want to express my opinion. I have had some experiences I didn't care for. So Coleman, if you'll read any of those, if there's anything, or maybe kind of summarize if half the people say if they got something specific.
So Samuel says depends on the industry,
Yep.
which I can totally see that depends on the industry. Mark Edge, Dr. Edge says his experience has been better. So
Good.
I think your answer there is going to be kind of across the board.
Yep, kind of figured as such. Now, I think you're right. It does depend on industry. Seems like some of the larger companies, I would expect them to do a better job. But anyway, that's it is going to be across the board. So here's what customers are saying in some of the surveys. And I've got different responses on this one, actually. But approximately 75% say that it's worse than before. And some of the comments that I observed was many service providers hide behind email, messages, voicemail. They have poorly trained agents. Since a lot of the customer service is distributed with people working out of their home, maybe their systems weren't equipped to have all the information they needed to serve. And again, there's a lot of different responses to this. And I'll call it dark holes, but a lot of people get lost in the dark hole, maybe where people didn't have systems put together, weren't really anticipating delivering service in a new way. So here's in surveys of people actually providing the service, 73% said that customer expectations were increasing. They felt like people were asking more, so they have to respond. So over half the people say that their systems they have in place were holding them back and that they plan on making improvements and increased spending in that area. So basically, we need to find out what our customers want and get them involved as we establish any changes. I think this is key. A lot of people will assume customers want to be served in a certain way, but I think if you survey your customers, not only find out if they're happy, not just that, but find out how can I do better? So I think that's a mindset we need to make or change possibly. And then if we make any changes to our system, make sure they're scalable, that they can meet demands of customers as you grow, as customer demands change. So you want to make sure that whatever you do, you exceed customers' expectations. That is crucial. So this is going to be another question I have. How do you think customers would rate your service? Now, maybe you're getting a lot of 5-star reviews. Maybe you've noticed that maybe you could do a better job. So does anyone like to respond there, what you found customers are saying? Just put it in the chat if you've got a comment or even a question. We get any responses there, Coleman?
Well, Kevin made a great point in terms of customer service being, he believes it to be better as it's forced business owners to re-strategize their operation and increase the quality of their service.
Yeah. People
now are as they're willing to judge very, very strictly on businesses, and you've got to really deliver in order to do so.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Okay, everybody knows Jeff Bezos. He's the CEO of Amazon. He says if you make customers unhappy in the physical world, they might tell 6 friends. If you make them unhappy on the internet, they'll tell 6,000 people. So I think that's something to keep in mind, because we are serving people not just locally, and we do have a lot of the internet and self-serve coming into play in our businesses. Keep in mind that things can go viral. A bad review can cost you business. So this is kind of a perspective, I guess you might say, on delivering customer service. This gets into over-delivering. So what you provide customers minus what you promise equals how they feel. Think about that for a minute. What you provide customers minus what you promise equals how they feel. So if you provide more than they possibly expected, they're going to be happy. So what are they going to do? They're going to tell others. So what they feel is what they're going to tell others. This shows up in the reviews online, your BBB reviews, your Google reviews, your Facebook reviews. And the other thing, what they buy is how they tell you. So if they don't come back as a repeat customer, that tells you something. If you're seeing maybe customers you've had for a while, they aren't ordering from you, or they're not taking your calls, or they're shutting you down, keep in mind there's something there. So you need to investigate that. And feel free to put in the chat if you have a question, and Coleman can shoot those. He can interrupt me at any time.
Actually, I'm going to right now. We had a good question come in from
Okay,
Sam.
all right.
Keith, how do you go about responding to a bad review, especially when you know it's not accurate or simply made out of spite, which does happen?
Yeah, I think it depends on what platform. I know the BBB, you have a chance if somebody gives you a bad review to have conversation and resolve. That's what I love about working with the BBB. You know, if somebody has filed a complaint, you're expected to respond as a business owner. And as far as Google, I think you do have opportunities to respond, but if you find out if somebody's unhappy, definitely jump on it. I've always said that there's no excuse for an upset customer. So I think it depends where the reviews show up, but definitely stay on top of those. Don't ignore them. Hopefully that answers your question. But I think just stay on top of it and train your team. We'll talk about it in a few minutes, but train your team, more than one person, to resolve any of these issues that come up. So everybody knows Warren Buffett, depending on what time it is. Sometimes he's the richest man in the world. Sometimes he's number 3, but he says it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. He says, if you think about that, you'll do things differently. So that's a great perspective to keep in mind as you're maybe looking at making changes in the way you are delivering your customer service. So great service starts at the top. When CEOs make it part of their priority in their culture, in their brand, and each team member embraces that mindset that the CEO passes down, good things are going to happen. You're going to stay on top of customers' issues, and you're going to make sure you deliver superior service. So when customers experience your excellent service, they're going to tell others about it. Now, some of you may know about this. This is a service that Google offers. It's free. If you go to google.com/alerts, this is free. You can plug in your company name or your URL or your Facebook page, and it'll go out there and search for all the places possibly your company's been mentioned, good or bad. It might pop up in reviews. You might show up in certain forums and so forth. But I encourage everybody. I thought this was kind of interesting. A few companies I know, I went out and just plugged their name in. It's kind of fun just to see what was being said. And if you find out some good things, which hopefully you will, you can use those and maybe call those customers and say, I saw you gave me a referral. I really appreciate that. And so I would utilize that. And there's some other services too. So my purpose today really is to present to you maybe a different perspective on delivering customer service. And that is using the web to manage that process. So we're going to talk about web-based customer service delivery, how that's accomplished. So why web-based customer service? It offers customers more control. That's the big thing. It puts control in their hands so they can get the service they want. It gives them a clear path because you've set it up in a way that they can get the answers either on their own or get to a live person they can talk to. So what you want to do, you want to make it easy for customers so they get what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. In other words, give it to them their way. There's a hamburger chain that says that, right? So what it does, it provides flexible and scalable delivery. It gives you you save money by doing it this way. It's cost effective. It allows you to use your manpower for special situations, not necessarily as a last resort, but if you've given customers a way to get their answers the way they want to, but maybe they do want to get a person involved, you can have those people plugged into the system because you've created a mechanism to allow that to happen. So you can get feedback. When it's digitized or on the web, you can check responses. We'll talk about chat bots in a little bit, but if you set up your customer service platform where it comes in through a website or your Facebook page, you can see the stats, how many people called in, what the response times were, maybe reviews, real-time reviews, hold times. You can get all this information with some of these tools that we'll talk about in a few minutes. So it creates structure and predictability. To grow a business and to be scalable, you've got to create systems that are predictable. In other words, you set up the way you interact, you set up the way you sell, you set up the way you respond. So if this is all predictable, you can scale and grow your business, because not only do the customers see and anticipate, but your team can as well. So, and again, it reduces dark holes. I mentioned that a few minutes ago. So these dark holes are the places where customers, maybe they left a message, but they didn't get a response. So we want to make sure those things don't happen. So how do you deliver scalable customer service? Again, systematize your customer service connections with a mix of, and this is where we're getting into the meat of this today, proactive, self-serve, and human interaction. So this is a graphic I came up with. If you visualize these little characters coming through the top, they're going into a funnel. They're going to see first is proactive way of dealing with their service. And I'll explain this more in a minute. So as they filter through, maybe they didn't get what they wanted in that proactive mode, but they drop into the self-serve mode. Maybe it's after they've used your product or service for a while, they can start to get answers. And then if that doesn't work, obviously the human interaction can come into play there. And that's what that last part is. Okay, we're going to talk about proactive first. Steve Jobs, everybody knows the late Steve Jobs. He says, get closer than ever to your customers. So close, in fact, that you tell them what they need well before they realize it themselves. And that may have somewhat of a sales flavor to it, but actually it can apply to service as well. I thought that was an interesting perspective. If you're so good in knowing your customers and delivering great products and services, you're going to anticipate, you're going to know what they need. Maybe it's an upgrade, maybe it's more training, it could be anything. So what is proactive customer service? 78% of the providers said that they're looking to move from reactive to proactive service. Now, I think a lot of times we think of customer service, oh dear, somebody's called, they're upset. So that would be a reactive. So you want to get out of that mindset. You want to think proactively. You want to anticipate that certain things people are going to ask for and be ready to respond. So being proactive empowers the companies to get ahead of issues before they escalate. In other words, if you're doing a good job providing customers what they need, you're not going to have upset customers, or certainly not as many. So that's a great perspective to keep in mind. So it resolves the majority of the customer needs because you know what to anticipate. Again, you know your customers, you know how your products or services are delivered, you know when to expect calls, where they might have issues. You anticipate all this. It ties into what Steve Jobs said. So it establishes a high quality brand. So if you look at customer service as part of building your brand, that's a great way to operate. Customer service should not be a necessary evil. It should be part of your brand, just the way you operate. And I don't know if you could think of some companies that you always expect great customer service, no matter what the situation is. And it just kind of, maybe use those as mentors to look at and maybe how you can improve your customer service. So how do you deliver proactive customer service? Again, create structure and predictable. Now I call it onboarding process. Depending on what you sell or serve, how you serve customers, and really whether it's commodities or even professional services, if you have a certain way that you bring customers into the fold, this might apply to maybe a complex product. It could be a service that you provide. And then the other thing is you want to make sure you get feedback immediately. You don't want to wait 2 weeks before you find out if a customer was happy. Give them a chance to give you feedback immediately. I think of Amazon. When you order something, you get feedback, or you get a a survey pretty quick in the process. I know a lot of the car dealerships they're providing really good service. They do this. They get feedback. They may have somebody call you. I know some, like a restaurant, they may give you a card. How did we do today? How was the food? The server may come by and say, how is it? Are you happy? So always, don't wait till they call you upset or have a problem to raise to your attention. So offer a single starting point for getting help on social media websites with chatbots. We're about to talk about chatbots. This is a great thing. You've probably used them and didn't realize you were, but this is really becoming a standard to giving people what they want. So give customers a single point where they start to get the service they want or order the product. This will make more sense in a second. So now we're going to talk about that second tier, self-serve customer service. So what is self-serve? That is, it's on demand, it's easy to use, web-based systems that provide customers what they need in order to learn about your product, solve the issues they're having, or just to be successful consumers of your product or services. So self-serve, again, is a way where they can get what they want, when they want, how they want. So how to deliver self-serve service. FAQs, I'm sure you've gone online, especially where there's technology involved. FAQs may be standard questions. I know artificial intelligence is addressing this a lot in systems. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it gives a place where people can read how other people solve the problem, or maybe where you've given customers a response before. Maybe you've canned this or already written up instructions or method to use the product or service. So product and service videos, YouTube, a lot of software you buy. I know you can go on YouTube and see how to use it from a beginner standpoint or even an advanced level. A lot of people put this on their website, their videos. A lot of it's on social media. It really depends on what it is. So how-to guides, manuals, a lot of times you can download PDFs to tell you how to use a product or service. Online training courses, there's a term called digital learning platforms like Thinkific and Teachable, where you can create, maybe where there's a more complicated process to use your product or service, they can go there and take a course. Sometimes you have to pay for those, but depending on what it is, again, it's just a way to go to take a course to learn how to use a product. Facebook groups, a lot of people use Facebook groups where customers can come to learn from other customers. These are a great way to provide self-serve. So then what we're going to talk about is the last level of this funnel, how to include your team to have that human interaction to deliver the service. So basically, it's any service is real time. It can be on a phone call, a Zoom call, a video training course, it's live. It could be webinars. That's quite often a way that you do onboarding, and then actually training and serving customers. So it's more of a high touch because it is human interaction. You're talking to your customers, you're interacting and giving them what they want in that time frame, that method they ask for. Is there any more questions, Coleman? See more questions coming through?
We had one comment to Chick-fil-A. I think that was in response to your who does awesome customer service. And
absolutely.
I was thinking about Chick-fil-A as well, but
yeah, gosh, that's probably one of the best examples. It's predictable. And actually, there's something I'm not talking about in this presentation, but I've been working with the SBA doing some presentation. I did one the other day talking about these situations where even creating a franchise model, creating your business like where it's predictable. In other words, let's take McDonald's. Whether you like McDonald's or not, when you hear the name McDonald's, you anticipate what the menu looks like, how you're going to be served, what it costs, how the drive-through works. Whether it's a McDonald's in Tyler or Longview or Dallas or wherever, it's always the same. So think of it like a franchise model. They train people to deliver that consistent method of serving.
I agree.
So how human interactive customer service should work. This operative, how it should work. You want to define, document, and systematize through scripting and structured delivery. Now, I think of call centers, I don't mean to make it where it's impersonal, but if you called a call center, you want it to sound like, or you want to be positioned like any question that you ask that service agent, they're going to be able to respond. If it's an error code, if it's a situation where you can't get a part to fit or there's a part missing, they have a response. And they always end, the better ones, they always end, have I answered all your questions? Is there anything else I can help you with? I think of, gosh, when I've called Suddenlink and my internet's down and so forth, they always ask, even though I had that one simple question, they always ask, is there anything else I can help you today? And that is a script, but you want to give a customer another opportunity to say, well, wait a minute, there is that one thing. Okay, so you want to train all team members to serve, resolve, and exceed customers' expectations. Gosh, you could probably think of examples there, but I love it if I called a certain company, I won't name any names, but you could probably think of some when you call, no matter who you talk to, they can answer your question, whether it's where's my order, I have this situation, who can I talk to? Everybody there is trained to be responsive, and that's the point. So you want to empower your team members to handle anything that comes up without being passed around. Nothing's worse than trying to get help, getting put in the queue. Somebody else answers the phone. They say, oops, wrong department. You get put in the queue again. You get bounced around like 3 or 4 people before finally you get somebody that can help you. So you want to avoid that, because I know that's always irritating to me. So obviously you can use Zoom, live chat. We'll talk about that in a minute. You can do training and webinars. There's a lot of ways you can provide that customer service. And again, every company is different. So you want to systematize the process and document. Not everybody requires a CRM, but a CRM is a customer relationship management. You think of this a lot of times being used for a sales team, but not so. It can be used for documenting your entire customer relationship, where they're buying something or calling for support. And depending on your product or service, you want to document those. So a CRM, basically, it's a system that helps you track, document, and manage the activities and relationships. Every time somebody calls, it's logged. Your responses are logged. What you emailed them, the questions you answered, whatever it may be, it's all recorded in a CRM. When I was in technology, we used to implement very complex accounting systems. And so every time somebody from a customer called the office, no matter who worked with them, my team was trained to document it with date stamp, time stamp, who called, what the question was, what the problem, how it was resolved. And so that we did that through a CRM, and we used that for the entire 30 years I was in that business. So and it doesn't have to be complex. It can be simple or complex depending on your business. So when you hear a CRM, a lot of people say, oh gosh, that's got to be way too, I don't need that. But you can do something simple as just recording when they called, what was said, what was sent, or it could be an entire scripted process of solving problems. So it can be used for managing sales activities, like I said, customer service, and automating follow-up. It could be where maybe 2 hours from a phone call, it automatically sends an email, giving them a chance to give you a survey or comments. So here's some popular CRM systems that are out there. There's HubSpot. A lot of people are using it. And again, they have different flavors of that. So it can be for a real small business as well. There's something called Streak and Pipedrive. I use Streak myself. What it is, it's a plug-in without getting into anything complicated here. It basically allows you to use all the features, the Google Workspace platform, your Gmail, your contacts, documents, slides, all the features, the systems in Google. It allows you to use those, and it wraps this whole process of a CRM into Streak. You can do complicated sales funnels, you can do service funnels, you can do projects. It's very inexpensive. There's Salesforce, probably more on the more complicated end. There's Monday. A lot of people like that. That's a fairly new one. Dynamics, that's a Microsoft product. I was actually involved in developing that product back in the 90s when Microsoft first came out with that. And there's something that's pretty new called Keep. So these are just a few. And so one of the things when we get to the end of this, I'll offer, if you all want to know about any of these, I can help you, since technology is kind of my background. If you have some questions about maybe what kind of system you should use, we'll talk about some of that, maybe see if one of these might match up for you. Okay, so here's where, kind of getting toward the tail end of this, of the message I'm trying to deliver. Chatbots, it's not new, but it's becoming a standard. So we're going to talk about what chatbots are first. It's basically software. It's a plug-in. It's a way to manage a structured approach to delivering service. So when you onboard a customer, you say, okay, anytime you have a problem, you can go to our website or our Facebook page, and you can get the support you need, not just a phone number or an email address. It's a way to have automated responses, maybe where it drives them to an FAQ. It might be a way to get to a training video. It can be where a live agent is conversing with you. I'm sure a lot of you have had these situations where you log on to somebody's Facebook page or their website and you have a real-time chat with an agent. A lot of times that's all you need. A lot of times people just, they don't want to talk to somebody, this being a customer. They just want to be able to have a quick conversation, not a text. And, but it's just a great way to manage that. Artificial intelligence, I want to touch on that just briefly. Some of these better chatbot systems, what it does, it helps you build the typical questions and answers so that you can automate the responses. So it builds like a catalog. So artificial intelligence is built over time of the interaction that occurs with customers. So, and again, it depends on how complicated the process is, but just think of it building the automation of customer interaction. And that's where things are headed. And so it's basically a hybrid of customer service. It's like, it can be that real-time chat, or it can be that artificial intelligent chat. You can be talking to a computer, not knowing it, if it's really that good. And some of the systems are that good. So it presents a workflow. It plugs into social media and websites for visitors to manage their experience. It is a structured process. It starts out with, and these chatbots, the way they work, if you're doing it on Facebook, it'll know your name just because you accessed it through social media. It'll say, welcome, Keith. How can I help you today? So, and that's just adds some personalization to it. So again, it's all about customers managing the way they interact, giving them what they want, when they want, how they want. I know I'm going through some of this kind of fast, but there's a lot of content here. So why chatbot systems? Actually, recent surveys say that, and I've seen numbers even higher, 63% of the customers expect some form of social media or self-serve. They don't, throw up a flag, say, oh gosh, here we go again. They actually expect it because they know that they can get the answer. If you're doing a good job, they can get those answers they're looking for without waiting on somebody to call them back or getting lost in that dark hole. So it's really become the preferred way. And it doesn't have to seem impersonal. I think the way you build it, you can make it so personal. It's kind of like Steve Jobs said, anticipate your customers, where you can give them those answers, those expectations without them asking. So again, if you approach this right, you're really providing a better service than ever, better than having just people interacting, because people change, moods are different, different people serve different. So it can be used for sales or service. Again, if you give them that format to, how can I help you today? Order product, check the order status, get service through an FAQ, a download. So it can be, it can reduce overhead. In other words, instead of hiring a team of people sitting there waiting on calls, you automate this process. And so it reduces the human cost. So here's some chatbot software. Manychat is one I'm really becoming very interested in. It's been out there a while. A lot of big companies use it, and it's cheap. There's a free version, a trial version, but I think it's as little as $10 a month. And it can, I mean, you can get real complicated on all these workflows. And if they ask this, give them this, after that, go here. So you can have like a complicated workflow or flow chart, if you will. I really like Manychat. Coleman and I were talking about how great this would be for a lot of customers we know. HubSpot, I gave, in a few minutes, I'll give you a snapshot of what HubSpot looks like. But HubSpot is a can be a full-blown CRM, customer service platform is for a small, simple business, like a one-man band that's providing consulting all the way up to a 200-person or even larger, because larger companies use it. But and there is a software product called Chatbot. It plugs into Facebook. There's Live Help Now. That's another one. Facebook Messenger bot, botmakers.net. That's a place you can go to where you can create these little templates for delivering service and plug it into your Facebook page using Messenger to communicate back and forth. Something called livechat.com. That one's really cool. And here's one, I'll give you a snapshot in a second, but talk.to, that's right, TAWK.to. That is one of these, I think it's pretty narrow in what it does, but it delivers this real-time chat with a service agent. So when your customers go to your Facebook page, and you don't want to do full-blown, I guess it depends on how complicated your service requirements are from your customers, but I really like that. It's pretty slick, real simple, and very inexpensive. So here's a BBB accredited business, a good friend of many of ours. So I went on Josiah's Facebook page the other day, and he was working with my mother-in-law providing a roof for her, and she just loves Josiah. He's been over backwards to help her. So I went to his Facebook page and plugged in. He knew I had been to his page before I called him, because he says, "Howdy, sir." Well, I didn't type anything in. I was doing something. I was on my phone, and then he says, "Howdy, sir." That's him, and I said, "Hey, man, thank you for taking care of my mother-in-law." And then he said, "My pleasure." So, but this is a real simple example, but it could have been just anybody. It could have been giving me the opportunity to get a quote, to meet with my insurance agent, to look at my roof, to respond. Maybe it's something about the insurance company, or maybe there's something that he needs to follow up on. It could have been anything. So it could have been an entire workflow using, and I think he uses talk.to for this. Here's another one. This is a snapshot of HubSpot's website. They do have an option for customer service. It's a plugin where you can create this. Maybe it's a more complicated, or maybe there's a workflow in providing service, but it's really neat. I looked at some of the examples, and they got some case studies. And if you go out on YouTube, you can see HubSpot for customer service. I'm not promoting HubSpot necessarily here, but it's becoming a very popular one. It's more full service, covers many aspects of a small business. Okay. Okay, takeaways. We're getting close to the end. It is 10 after, so a little bit ahead, so we'll have a chance to answer some questions. So takeaways. These are things that I tried to emphasize today that I hope you can get out of this presentation today. So have customers tell you what they want before you start changing anything. Constantly survey your customers. Find out what they're happy with, what they'd like to be done better. Always give them a chance, and don't take offense if they, you want to get your customers involved. Treat them like they're a partner in your business. That's the way we should do it anyway, right? So give them what they want, how and when they want it. Exceed expectations. I should have underlined that, but really exceed expectations every chance you get. That's where these great reviews come from, right? So give customers a single point of entry and obtain service via chatbot. This chatbot is, again, it's not just for your Facebook page or social media. You can take this chatbot and plug it into your website. The the Manychat that I mentioned, you can create your workflow and copy that link to that chatbot, that workflow. I can plug it into my Facebook page and my website, and the same one appears. So you have that consistency across all of your internet interfaces. Customers always see that consistent way to get help. You want to keep the process simple and effective. Don't make it complicated. You don't have to solve all the problems through these chatbots, but I think the main thing is to create a workflow that people can understand. It's simple. It's not, and if maybe they're frustrated and they don't want to leave a message, but they want to talk to somebody. If that's something you can do, by golly, provide that for them. So again, cross-train your team, empower them to serve. Don't make it where you've got one person to serve and they're out at lunch and somebody calls. Make it where you've got a backup. And this, again, depends on your business, but I think cross-train your people, give everybody, empower them to help the customers and get answers. But at the very least, give them assurance that they've been plugged in and somebody will get back to them to avoid the dark holes. Nothing's worse than getting trapped in this dark hole of customer service where they're not effectively served. Get customer feedback after providing products and services. Don't do it once, do it periodically, maybe once a quarter. Stay engaged with your customers. A lot of people will, I know sometimes I feel like this love them and leave them. I buy something, I never hear from them again. And when I get ready to contact them again, I'll remember if I didn't have a great experience, then I may not buy from them again. I think that's the way we all operate. So manage your effectiveness with software systems, establish a dashboard. Let me touch on that, what that means right there. Most of these chatbot softwares like Manychat gives you a customer service, not for the customer, but for your team, where they can see the number of calls that came in, the response time, how they were handled. So it gives you a dashboard so you can see where maybe the wait times were too long, or a customer had to be called back more than once, or they called in more than once. So it just gives you a way to kind of monitor and manage. And you can't do that with just a typical somebody calling in via phone. But when you automate the process, it gives you more information to manage your business and keep performance indicators and standards. Maybe you're trying to get your customer service where you're delivering in less than 10 minutes, just as an example. Okay, questions and answers. Hopefully you got some good information out of this. And if you got a question, I'll do my best to answer. Coleman?
I'm back. Okay, so we do have a couple questions.
Okay.
Number one, who ideally, or maybe whom ideally, should be the person or persons assigned to respond to customers and handle CRMs? Is that a singular individual? Is that a group, a team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, if I understand the question right, for example, when I use CRM systems in my software business, I had 26 employees, and most anybody in the office would have access and kept it on their desk, so anybody could see the activities. I use it for my business, and I have different projects and so forth I work on, and like stuff that I'm doing for SCORE or SBA or BBB or a webinar. I can have people in a funnel, and I can deal with those groups differently. Am I answering the question right? Did I understand the question right?
I think so, and I might help answer here. I think one of the points I got from you is you want to avoid that it being just one singular person.
Right.
When that one singular person is unavailable, well, now you have nothing. So
Yeah.
I think I'm with you, where you want people to have the ability to answer the questions and more than just one person in the office. One of the great things about BBB is, at least in our office, so I'm going to speak for our office, everybody can answer the question because we have the ability to look it up. Now, it may take me a minute longer than someone else, but I'm going to be able to find the answer because we have the shared software or the shared CRM, the shared individual packets, or however you want to say it, that we can answer it. So I think you answered it and let everybody be available to answer.
That's right. Yeah, I've got along that line. I've got another example. I won't state the company because I know but my insurance agent I've used for years. When I call, my phone number pops up. They know who called, and it's plugged into their CRM, and says, "Hi Keith, how can I help you today?" Anybody in that office, and I think he's got probably 15 people in the office at any time, and so anybody. So I don't care who I talk to. And I really don't, because they're all so great. And that's part of my expectation when I call in, that if I got a question about my bill or adding covering another car, whatever it is, anybody can help me. And that's because the CRM is the backbone of their customer interaction. So if I talk to one person in the morning, that person's out to lunch. If I call back and they say, "Oh, I see you talked to Brittany or whomever," and they all see, and that's part of that documenting your interaction with your customers. So even with the small, even if you're a 3-person company, I think having some way of is a good to have. Not that not every company justifies it, but not that it's expensive, but it does require some discipline. If you start using a CRM, you can't use it sometimes and not all the time. So and really discipline is the operative word on any time you're trying to create transformation, bringing new systems in or making systems work better, helping you do a better job with customers. You got to have the discipline, cross-train, get everybody engaged, let them see, here's why. Everybody's got to write down what you had that conversation about or how you resolved it.
We have another question. How often do you ask customers for reviews? I'll answer again from a BBB's perspective. Every time. Whether it's formally like, "Hey Keith, thanks for coming into the shop today. If you don't mind, would you leave us a review on our BBB profile, our Facebook page, whatever?" And you can do it kind of passively as well. Put it in your email signature. Click here to leave a review. Happy with your, it doesn't have to always be a phone call or a face-to-face. We encourage, businesses, like you said, can live and die by review sites. They do. I feel like you would want to ask those as often as possible.
That, and to that point, Coleman, what I put on my homepage of my website is a button for the BBB. Leave a review. They click that button, it goes right into the BBB system and leave a review. Obviously, they can go to Google, they can go to Alignable. There's a bunch of places, Yahoo. But I think leave, like you say, you put your email signature. I like the idea of putting it on both my Facebook page and my website. So, yeah, lots of ways to do that. But make it easy for them. Back to that point.
Make it easy for them. So, okay, I put it in the chat. If you have any more questions, let's go ahead and get them asked. It is 12:20, so we're right on time. I always try to take at least one major point away from all the webinars we've done, which we've done a lot. I always try to take one major point away if I learned one thing. And I think you hit it right towards kind of the very beginning, and that was be anticipatory. You know what questions crop up the most when it comes to your business. So there's no excuse that you should not have the answer readily available. If you're an HVAC company, plumbing, you're, BBB, you're a business coach, you know what questions get asked of you the most. Have the answers ready. I think be anticipatory is the key here. That way you can get it solved immediately.
Yep. And what I know Coleman is going to give you guys a chance to have a copy of these slides. And then also too, what I'm doing for everyone, if you talking about email, on my email signature, on my website, I give customers a chance to schedule some time, and there's no charge for anybody that came on this today. If you want to just talk about maybe some of the challenges you're having or get some advice, not charging for this, just establish a relationship with those where I don't. But if you go to my website and go down at the very bottom, there's a schedule a call. It'll pop up and give you an opportunity to pick a time that's good for you. And we'll just talk about it. We'll just talk openly, and it's not a sales pitch. It's, I love thinking out of the box. And this is a chance because I'm a pretty broad thinker. And a lot of times talking to somebody besides yourself, you look in the mirror, you get the same answer, right? But if you talk to me, I might ask you questions maybe you haven't thought about. And that's what I love about my job is the strategy of just seeing things differently. So bottom line here is go to my website, wkeithroberts.com. Down at the very bottom, schedule a call, click that, and it'll show my calendar, the times I have office hours. And
And I will do a plug for Keith here, because Keith helped us out back when, I'm going to say this loosely, when the pandemic was bigger and worser about this time last year into the summer. We at BBB, our specific office, offered some services from some of our business coaches that we have in the area. It was Keith. There were a couple of others that were involved in that. And Keith offered that to those businesses free of charge. He said, you need help working through the pandemic. You're not quite sure how to manage maybe a financial aspect, manage your people, especially if you were in the industry that was facing furloughs, laying folks off, when the times had gotten to that point. Hopefully we're trending back the opposite direction of that. But we are indebted to Keith because he offered those services to businesses that just needed help, or they needed to bounce ideas off of somebody and have somebody redirect the idea and say, good, but, or good idea, how do you implement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to help kind of survive the push from last year of quarantine, et cetera. So,
and I still get some of those people, some of these people are still dropping me emails or having an occasional call. Usually it's an email, but I'm still talking to a lot of these people and not as customers per se, but I just love helping people. I've got a servant's heart, so that's kind of the way I approach my business.
Well, folks, it is 12:23 here on the Central Time. We appreciate everybody. Samuel says, thank you, Keith. Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, Keith kind of touched on it. This webinar has been recorded. It has been recorded to Michelle Mills's computer, which is terrific, except for Michelle is on vacation. So sometime early next week, we will get the video edited. We will get it posted to our YouTube channel. We will also send out an email that has not only the link for you to go back and watch a specific part, it will also have Keith's presentation. The PDF will be attached as well. You can simply click it and download it. We encourage you to do that, to go back. And if you had to focus on one area, go back and read the CRMs, the chat providers per se. You go back and do that. But once again, we appreciate you, everybody. The invitation for the next webinar will be going out here in the next week or so. Webinars are still a thing. It's still a thing. It's still very popular. We're going to continue to do them. We've got a great schedule laid out for the rest of the year. And so we're going to continue to do them. We hope each and every one of you will continue to be with us. Other than that, if we don't have any more questions, I think we're square. We are going to hit end. We appreciate you, Keith. He's on that side.
Thank you.
On that side.
Don't hesitate to call me or reach out.
There's no question.
If something wasn't clear, I'll clear it up.
There's no question that's not worth asking to at least get cleared up. So, Keith, we appreciate you. Everybody from around the globe, wherever you're watching from, we appreciate you. Have a wonderful, wonderful Monday, and we will see you here in about a month.
All right. Bye.